Yeah, hello everybody. Um, Today we will do some exercises, and first of all, I would recommend that you participate in the CHE ranking. This is a German-wide or a ranking of all universities, and I really would recommend that you evaluate your own university because you know in the internet, most people who are evaluating something they are angry about something. So you have, if you have a Google evaluation or whatever of a physician or whatever of a book, um, there you have a bias to bad evaluation. And you want to graduate from this university, and well, then you can think about yourself if you want to graduate from a university where mostly only the guys who are dissatisfied with this university do the evaluations, then they will be bad. Or if you want, honestly, if you want to have an honest evaluation, what is good, what is not so good at your university. And just about this, you should think. And therefore, I would recommend that you evaluate and, of course, be honest in your evaluation and say what is good and what is not so good. Of course, you should do this. You should not do a bias in the other direction. But in general, we know that evaluations in the internet have a bias to bad evaluations. Okay, so, but then we want to do a little further exercises. Hopefully you have seen that I have everybody who wants to participate in the exam. I enrolled you in the exam Moodle course and I wrote you an announcement. Yeah, just do the function tests. In the last semesters, it worked always. So I had no defaults. 100% of people who wanted to hand in the exam managed it to do it. And then the exam will be there at Friday, 8 o'clock. You can download it as a PDF. Start, you have roughly 1 week and just hand in it lastly at next Thursday. Okay, one question? Yeah, it is German, but it's only just an upload, a download of a PDF and an upload of a PDF. It is not, well, actually, the last 5 years since we started this in Corona times, it always worked. Okay, so let's do here a little calculation. We did a similar calculation within the lecture. So it is roughly about calculating growth rates and the dependence between nominal and real growth rates. So we have given some data about the GDP. GDP in 2023 should be 1 million, and then it raised to 1,050,000. I also would recommend, but it doesn't matter for the growth rate, that you start with index values in the starting year with 100. Oh, this should be in English. Sorry for this. But anyway, oops, so this is growth rates. I pasted in the wrong one. Growth rates and growth rates and BIP equals GDP. So you should just calculate the missing data. So do you have an idea how to start? what can you directly calculate also by calculation in your head, I think. Yep. Yeah. Yeah, well, I have already given you all hundreds here. Well, I recommended last week that you have a look within these exercises. I can also just do it. So if you have a growth rate of 5% of nominal GDP and we're starting from 100, what would be the index of 2023? Yep, 105, of course. And then how can I calculate the growth rate of nominal GDP in 2024, since I have given the absolute values in 2023 and 2024? Yes, great. So then let's say this would be this one. This is 1, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4 minus divided. Okay, and then let's start to do this in Excel. So let's put this in GDP num index growth rate. What did I hear? Index. This would be then real. Top num real. And also GDP deflator. Real deflator. And I start in 22. Up 100, 100, 100. This was 1 million or 1, 2, 3. Yeah, 1, 2, 3. And 105. So here we have 5% and 3.5 and 6. 3.5% and 6%. So here we have this 105. So this is 100 times 1 plus the growth rate. And now you said, well, this number minus this number divided by this. So I obtain this minus this divided by this. And hopefully, if I press enter, this will be, this we can do also in your head, in our heads. This is grammar school. 105 minus 100 over 100. Please, guys. This is a growth rate of, this is class 2, 5% or, okay. This we have done in the lecture. I have 100 enrollments and I've seen only a roughly 15 guys within this lecture during this semester. We see how it works out. So 5%. How do I obtain the index of nominal GDP in 2024? Also an increase of 5%. If the revenue is increasing by 5% and you're starting from 105 euros. Yep. And then plus the initial value, okay? But I think that you know what you are doing. So 105 times 1 plus 5%. Oops. Let's So what else can we calculate? Real GDP, this is not that easy because we have to calculate it via our chain index. Well, the next one would be here the index of deflator. Deflator is increasing by 6%. Then index is starting at 100. Calculations like this you have done in almost every lecture. This you can also do in your head. Yes, so it's 106. Or in general, 100 times 1 plus the growth rate. So, and now we can calculate the real GDP. What's the definition? Or how depend GDP deflator, nominal GDP, and real GDP on each other? definition of GDP deflator. This was nominal GDP over real GDP times 100. So now we have given it the other way around. We have given the GDP deflator and we have given the nominal GDP. Definition GDP deflator was 100 times GDP nom index over GDP real index. Then we have GDP real index equals 100 times GDP nom index over GDP deflator. Okay? This is also grammar school. 100 times nominal GDP was 105 and GDP deflator was 106. So this is 100 times nominal GDP over real GDP. So what would be the real growth rate in 2023? Yeah, yeah, this one. So 99.05. Yes, I know. I want to have the growth rate of real GDP in 2023. Yep, 99.5 minus 100 over 100. So equals this minus this over the initial value. Let's do it also in percentage. Let's do this always in 2 digits and this also in 2 digits. So how do I obtain index of real GDP in 23 and 24? I have a starting value of 99.05 and a growth rate of 3.5%. So 99.05 times 1 plus the growth rate. GDP deflator. Now, of course, I can directly use the definition since I have now the nominal GDP and the real GDP equals 100 times nominal GDP over real GDP. Oops, there was something missing. No, now it's okay. And the last one, price development in 2024, growth rate of GDP deflator. Yeah, yeah, of course, it's always the same. So 107.53 minus 106 over 106. Let's format this also in percentage. And now we are done. This should not be a miracle for you. So next one, determine the exact annual average real and nominal economic growth from 2022 to 2024. And if I write down here exact, I do not want to have approximations. The last 2 semesters I was a little bit lazy about my correction of the exams because I said, well, I started this new kind of exam form of this little term paper you have to write. And therefore I said, well, okay, if you take the arithmetic mean of growth rates, you still get any points. I have to think about this because I have done this now really quite often. And actually, this is quite important to do the calculations in the right to do the calculations right. For a first estimation, of course, it's okay to take the arithmetic mean. But in the end, think of you are calculating revenues in the financial markets. If you then always doing only it by a rule of thumb, then you end up with the wrong results. And actually, if you have growth rates with more than 10%, or at the capital market, so the revenue is going up and down by plus 15%, minus 20%, then you will obtain a really wrong result if you don't do it in the exact way. Okay, so B. This would be A. B. What do I have to do? Yes, great. You have to calculate the geometric mean of the growth factors of these 2 years. So here it is quite easy because of course, whatever you do, an average of the same numbers is of course the same number at all. But I write down the strict formula that you see it because maybe in the exam you have not the same values. Okay, so average growth rate GDP nominal would be 1 plus 5% times 1 plus 5% to the power of 1/2 minus 1, and this is of course also 5%. But now here, of course, we have a difference. So the growth rate of GDP, real would be 1 minus 0.94% times 1 plus 3.5% to the power of 1/2 minus 1. And this I cannot do in my head. So I calculate here the growth factor. This would be then 1 plus the growth rate. This is not so nice to have it in. And now taking this growth factor times this growth factor to the power of 1 over 2, and this one, and this one. This would be the average, and then the average growth rate would be the growth factor minus 1. Oops, and 1.25. Okay. So, and if you are doing your exam, of course you can use Excel. Yeah, I really would recommend it that you use it. But if you then provide me within your PDF file only this table, and you have done something wrong within your formulas, then the numbers are wrong. And then I cannot see, is it just a typo, or have you done really something wrong? If it's only a typo, then I say, well, okay, it's 10 points, you still get 8 or 7. But if I see only the wrong numbers, then I cannot decide, is it a real mistake or only a typo? So then please just give me a hint of the formulas you have used, and just write them in the neighborhood of this table, what you have done. And then I see, okay, well, you know what you are doing, and somewhere is a typo. Okay, then you get still your points. Yeah, only providing me the table. If you are lucky and everything is okay, well, then I see, yeah, it's okay. Okay, so last one. Assume the GDP deflator grows at the annual average rate per year calculated in B for average real and nominal growth. So we also need the average GDP deflator. C, growth rate of GDP deflator. This would be 1 plus 6% times 1 plus 145%, also to the power of 1/2, and this would be then, let's take here also the growth factor, is 1 plus 6 and 6. Let's use this format here, and the calculation is of course the same, and I obtain 3.7. So, and what else should we do? We should calculate nominal GDP up to 2034 in order to achieve an annual average real growth rate of 1% for the next 10 years. So what does it mean? This means for the next 10 years up to 2034, we should have here 1%. Let's go down to 2000 and, oops, equals this plus 1, 2034. So all this should be 1%. This is given in the task. So what else is given? It is also given that the GDP deflator should increase by the average growth rate of the last 2 years. So this would be our 3.7 and also over the next, oops, years. Okay? So if I have these two, then I can also calculate the development of the indices. So this would be my starting value times 1 plus my growth rate. This would be then the development over the next 10 years of the index of real GDP. The same one for the GDP deflator. And I know, again, from this formula here, GDP nom index equals 100 times GDP deflator times GDP real index. And then I also have to divide it by 100 here. Okay, just from the definition. So the index here will be this times this over 100. This will be the development. Then I obtain the growth rate minus initial value divided by the initial value. If I press enter here, what should I obtain? Yes, always the same one because I have constant growth rates of the other two values over the next 10 years. And then, of course, I can calculate the absolute development. So this would be then starting value times 1 plus the growth rate. And this would be then my final value I've asked for. So this is one possibility how to do it. Of course, you can also calculate this directly because you know that the growth rates are constant over the next 10 years. I did it now just using Excel and copying all the formulas. You can, of course, also do it by hand, by calculation, and then rising to the power of 10. Yeah. How you do it, anyway. But if you do it in a compact formula, then please provide me what you have done. So this would be then the answer. GDP, num in 2034. Okay, then let's go to theory. ISLM and ASAD model. So I have given consumption function, investment function, government expenditure, money demand, money supply, nominal money supply, and the price level. First of all, I think this should everybody of you should now be able to do this. This we have also done graphically in the lecture. We have also did an example of this calculation. So first of all, we should calculate, given our functions using the ISLM model, this general equilibrium. How do I do this? Yes, great. So then let's start with the IS, the Keynesian commodity market. And there we know total demand equals C plus I plus G. And this would be then 100 plus 0.7y plus 50 minus 30i plus g, and this will be then not g. G is 40. 190 plus 0.7y. Okay. Next step, in order to to get the IS plus minus 30i. Sorry. So behind you should have this kind of picture. Well, I've put it already here. I need the equilibrium condition. Supply is following demand, so Y equals YD. And this means Y equals 190 plus 0.7 minus 30i, and solving this just for Y. And then I obtain the IS equation, Y depending on interest rates. So this would be then 0.3 times y equals 190 minus 30i, and then y is 100 over 30 times 190 minus 100 over 30 times 30 times I. This cancels, and so I obtain 1900 divided by 3 minus 100 and I. What do I have to do at the money market? Yep. This we have already done here. Now I am at the money market. This is the IS equation. What is the condition at the money market? No, of course not. At the money market, also money supply equals money demand. Money demand is given. So L of yi, this is supply, equals money money demand equals money supply, and this is given just by nominal monetary aggregate over price level, M over P. Putting this in means 3y minus 200i equals 80 over 4. And let's solve this also for y. So I obtain 3y minus 200i equals 20. 3y equals 20 plus 200, and I dividing this by 3 is 20 over 3 plus 200 over 3 times I. This is the LM curve. How do I obtain the overall equilibrium? Yeah, just equating overall equilibrium LM equals IS. So we have this one and we have this one. This means then 1900 over 3 minus 100i equals 20 over 3 plus 200 over 3 times I, and then I obtain 1900 minus 20 over 3 is 300 plus 200 over 3 times I. Hopefully I'm right. Then I see the 3 is canceling. This is 500i, so I obtain I equals 500 over 1,880. Let's calculate this. Oops, 500. 0.266. Yep. Or have I done something wrong? Okay, this is possible. Yeah. Yeah, great. Thank you. Yes, I'm always doing something wrong. So, thank you very much. 3.76. Okay, this is the equilibrium interest rate. How do I obtain equilibrium output? Still something wrong? You see, I am doing also mistakes. How do I obtain total output or total income? Yep. Yep. Yeah, for sure. Just inserting this in the IS or the LM curve. So then let's use 1,900 over 3 minus 100 times 1880 over 500. And this would be then roughly is 1,900 over 3 minus 1880 over 5, roughly 2,000 over 257, 257 period 3. Just equating two linear lines, everybody of you should be able to do this. Well, in general, you see, I also do mistakes, but you have some time. Just do once at maybe Monday the calculation, put it away, go to bed, get up next day, and then just recapitulate your calculation, and then I think you will obtain the right result. Yeah. But the important thing is here that you know what you are doing. So this one is important, this one is important, this one is important, and this one is important. Yeah, if you still miscalculate something, but I see that you have understood what you are doing, if I see that you using the right equations, then you of course still obtain 70-80% of the points, although you have maybe missed a factor 2 or something. Yeah. So please also provide me just a little hint what you have done. If you provide me only the results and maybe they are wrong, how should I still give you points? That is hard for me then. But if I see, well, here, 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 I see what you have done. I see that you have understood the model. And of course, you obtain lots of points. Yeah. Okay, so task B. Let's assume the marginal rate of consumption is increasing to 90%. So here in Germany, we are quite conservative. We save a lot. So we are going now to the United States because they just spent their money. Based on the data from 8, by how much would either government spending or money supply have to rise in order to have the same effect of equilibrium income? So please, if I provide such a task, that you carefully read through it. So what do I want from you? And there, an understanding in diagrams would be nice. So first of all, what means an increase in my diagrams here of marginal rate of consumption? Let's put it in green. Yeah. This would be the second step. At first, I ask what is the effect of an increase of marginal rate of substitution. This is then the second part, an increase of government as expenditure. The first thing is what means an increase of marginal rate of substitution. What is the initial marginal rate of substitution, not substitution, marginal rate of consumption? 0.7, yes, of course. This is my initial marginal rate of consumption. So this is the slope of my demand curve here. So this is now steeper. Okay. And the other way around, this would mean that IS will be flatter, that I'm now somewhere here. So in general, I obtain an increase of total income. Yeah. So the first thing is what kind of effect has this increase from 0.7 to 0.9? So first of all, I have to do the same calculation. This 0.7 is now 0.9. There. This would be now 0.1. So this would be a 1. This would be a 1. So in the end, I obtain 1900 hopefully, and now just help me, this would be then a 300 here. Okay, so IS would be Y equals 1900 minus 300I. LM is still the same. So then I obtain this equilibrium now with a 0.9 marginal rate of consumption would be, no, not directly. Let's equate this. LM equals IS is then 1900 minus 300I, and still the same LM curve is 20 over 3 plus 200 over 3i. So this would be then 1900 minus 20 over 3 equals 300 plus 200 over 3. Oops, sorry. Now I'm too fast. Up. This, and then I have to divide by this number. Minus, and then 200 over 3 plus what is it? 300. Yeah. So I obtain 1900 minus 20 over 3 divided by 200 over 3 plus 300. This is then roughly, what was it, 5.16, and with this marginal rate of consumption inserting in LM would be 220 over 3 plus 200 over 3 times this 5.16 is then 5.16 times 200 over 3 plus 20 over 3 is 350.91. 350.91. Yeah. So, and now I'm coming more or less from the result. Now I now know the effect, the pushing effect of an increase of the marginal rate of consumption on income. And now I should use the initial marginal rate of substitution. And I ask myself how much I have to increase government expenditure to end up at the same increased total income. Yeah. So this means now I have to do the whole calculation just with a variable of government expenditure because I do not directly know it. So this means, where is it? This 40? This would be now a G. Okay. And for this, then I would recommend you could go through all the calculations in the same way. But at first, here we are calculating, well, how can we do it? Let me think about it. I have this G, Since I didn't know this in the end. Yeah, for this, I would recommend that you now solve not for y, but for I, because then we directly obtain an income depending on the unknown government expenditure. So from this, let's do it like IS is 100 plus 0.7 y plus 50 minus 30i plus g equals y. Again, 150 minus 30i equals 0.3 y. And now we are solved for I. This would be then 30i equals 0.3 times y, no, 150, sorry. 150 minus 0.3y and dividing this by 30. So I equals 150 over 30 is 5 or 5 minus and 0.3 over 30. Can I do this in my head? Maybe you help me. This is 3 over 10 divided by 30 is 1 over 100 y. So I obtain I equals 5 minus 1 over 100 y. Okay. And my g is missing. Where is my g? This I have lost. This have to be here. Plus g and also plus g, and I'm too fast today. G over 30. G over 30 plus G over 30. Now let's take LM, and this we are solving also for I. This would be then I equals 20 over 200. No, this is wrong. Sorry. Let's do it a little bit slower. This is then 200. I equals 3y minus 20. this one. So I is 3 over 200 y minus 20 over 200. This is not long enough here. So lm I equals 3 over 200y minus 1 over 100. No, 1 over 10 only. So again, equating lm and is. This means I obtain, now I have to be careful, 5 minus 1 over 100y plus g over 30 equals 3 over 200y minus 1 over 10. Yep. So this gives now a dependence between y and g. These are the only variables. And now comes the step that I already know what y is, because I want to have the same effect which g gives us, having the marginal rate of consumption to be 0.7, this 350. Okay, so this I insert now here and here, and then just solving for g. So hopefully I get this right. G is then 30. Please calculate with me. This one, 3 over 200, inserting 359.1 minus 1 over 10 minus 5 plus 1 over 100 times 359.1. Just inserting all my numbers. So, oops, in the end, I obtain then equals 3 over 200 times 350, oops, minus 1 over 10 minus 5 plus 300, oops, plus 350 over 100. Ah, no, still I'm done. Brackets, brackets times 30. So hopefully I have done everything in the right way. This seems quite reasonable. And this you should then also think, well, of course you can make here a typo. And, well, we see we have quite an increase. So our starting value within marginal rate of consumption was 250. And now it really increased by roughly 1/3 from 250 to 350. Yeah, this is quite an increase. So you know this multiplicator effect. The multiplicator is not that high with 0.7. It's roughly 1/3, yeah? 0.3, 30%. 1 over 1 over 3 is roughly 3, yeah? And this then would mean, well, I also need quite an increase of G. This would be then, here, what do I have? 110, roughly. Initial value was 40. So I almost tripled my G. Okay. Then delta G is roughly 110 minus 40 equals roughly 70. And this is then your answer. Increasing this number from 0.7 to 0.9 has the same effect as increasing government expenditure from 40 to 110 by 70. Okay. So then for tomorrow, you should do, so to speak, the same thought experiment, now not doing fiscal policy, but doing monetary policy. So again, already we have the overall effect on income increasing from 250 to 350, but now you should change the M. What has to be the increase of the nominal monetary aggregate in order to obtain also an increase of total income from 250 to 350. Now getting the effect not from the commodity market, but from the money market. Okay? And the last one would be then that I just give you also an AS curve and calculating an overall equilibrium in the ASAT model. And this we will do then together tomorrow. And I will also provide, or I think I have already given this to you, I think. No, it's missing. I will give you also a task of a neoclassical model. It's already here? Okay. Where is it? Where is it? Oh, I put it in the Moodle course. Yeah. Yes, it is in the Moodle course. Yeah. So please also have a look at in this. It's I think the labor market equilibrium which you should calculate. Yeah. So then let's see tomorrow.